Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, I'm the Cartoon Gentleman, bringing you organized chaos. And right now I'm dealing with my own brand of chaos. Well, what's wrong? Oh, well, you see, this episode is Read It and Weep. I really like this episode, and I think it's a really good episode of MLP. So what's the problem? It's the episodes that would follow this episode that I have a problem with. Episodes that inspired by this episode that really is the final straw when it comes to Daring Do. Honestly, I don't really like Daring Do themed episodes, but I know a lot of fans would agree with me on that one. But I'm a fan of Daring Do episodes. Well, that's fine. But, well, I shouldn't judge an episode just because it spawned miniature episodes of terribleness. This episode, I consider the best Daring Do episode, mainly because Daring Do isn't in it. Sort of. This is Read It and Weep. The episode begins with Rarity and Pinkie Pie all watching Rainbow Dash performing some daring tricks, even though it's off-screen and we can't see any of them. But I gotta give credit where credit is due. Sometimes imagining these tricks is a lot better than seeing them firsthand. More often than not, the vision in our head is much better than what we get on screen. But unfortunately for Rainbow Dash, she ends up crashing and burning off screen, and ends up breaking her wing. Now, there is something I really need to point out about this episode. Why does Rainbow Dash need to stay in the hospital until her wing is better? From what we know, she didn't break any of her hooves, so she could just walk around. She just doesn't need to fly. And we know full well that she's pretty good at running. So why exactly does she need to stay in the hospital? Unless the doctor has some sort of nefarious purposes. Or it could be just for plot convenience. I'm going with the first one. Well, despite Twilight and Friends' best efforts, they couldn't quite get Rainbow to accommodate to her new digs. But Twilight has one last backup plan, and forcing her to do the one thing that Rainbow Dash never thought she could do.
What's this?
That, my dear Rainbow Dash, is called a book. You must read it. But of course, Rainbow Dash refuses the offer because she thinks that reading is uncool. Typical American. Well, actually, it's not American. My Little Pony Gen 4 is Canadian. Ah, I see. So it's not stereotypical, it's just racism. That's not how I would put it. Someone's being racist against America? That would be the My Little Pony. I'll kill them! I think I just started a war. Well, when Rainbow Dash refuses to read the book, saying that all reading's for eggheads, the main six just sort of laugh at her instead of just being angry at her, saying that they all like to read books. But when the nurse comes in and says that they aren't allowed to be there anymore because visiting hours are over, Rainbow Dash is left to do this. Red ball bouncing. No, 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 no. No, resist, resist. Well, as time progresses, Rainbow Dash realizes that she has really nothing to do, so she decides to pick up the book and start taking it a look. And as she finds out, she's enjoying it, imagining herself in the same position as Daring Do, as she too in this book has a broken wing and is forced to run around on the ground trying to save the world while dealing with her own physical ailments. Which, again, brings me back to my last point. Why does Rainbow Dash need to be in the hospital bed? She has 4 working hooves. She can move on her own. Makes no goddamn sense! And for a good chunk of the episode, we then take part in the struggles between Rainbow Dash imagining herself as Daring Do and constantly being interrupted by her more than caring friends. Though it does kind of shock me that Pinkie Pie is the only one that doesn't visit. It's not necessarily a problem, it's just something that I noticed. Out of all the main 6, Pinkie Pie is the only one that doesn't visit Rainbow. What the hell is she doing?
So, do you have the stuff?
That depends. Do you have the money?
You get your money when I get my stuff.
Fine. Here, 10 pounds of sugar.
Great. Now, I'll go get you your Dragon Balls.
Yes, and soon I will have all of the Bulma's panties. Also immortality.
I'm sure I'm overthinking it. Well, things are heating up at the 15-minute mark, as Rainbow Dash is officially excused from the hospital, but unfortunately was unable to take the book with her. So now, she's unable to figure out what happens to Daring Do. Now, a lot of fans speculate at this point, Rainbow Dash should have just went to Twilight. And yes, I am well aware that the story would have been a lot more simple if Rainbow Dash had went to Twilight to begin with, since Twilight at the very beginning stated that she owns the entire series, thus far. However, here is my counter-argument. Would this have fallen in Rainbow Dash's personality? She was spending most of the entire episode hiding the fact that she's turned into a fan of Daring Do from her friends, a fan of reading in general. So if that be the case, why would she openly admit to the one pony that she was referring to as the majorest of eggheads in order to get the book? Just doesn't make sense. So it does make a little bit more sense that Rainbow Dash would fake her own illness, and when that didn't work, tried to break into the hospital in order to try to get the book back, only to have the nurses and doctors chase her down with guard dogs, and is this really all necessary? I mean, it's a visual treat seeing as how Rainbow Dash and Daring Do are alike, but is this all really necessary? This must be like the most paranoid hospital ever! Well, she's eventually run down of Twilight's library, and all of her friends just miraculously show up in the middle of the night all at once. Try to piece that one together. And Rainbow Dash openly admits to everybody, Celestia herself, she's an egghead. She likes Daring Do, and she wanted to break in just to read the rest of the chapter. And we're also treated to this scary pony.
Hey, get back to the hospital!
Is anybody else remotely concerned that that pony got out of the mental ward so easily? Is no one else concerned by this? No one? I mean, she didn't look like she had a horn, so magic wasn't involved. I think it was an inside job. Seriously? No one? Okay, I'll sit here. So after Rainbow Dash admits she's an egghead, Twilight and the rest of the main 6 don't think any ill of her, and they're actually glad that she's accepted books into her life. So the very next day, she plops down in Twilight's library and begins to read the next chapter, having no repercussions to the fact that she technically broke an entry for attempted theft. Equestrian legal system is shit! If you're not being banished by the princesses, you get off scot-free. Okay, that was a little bit much, but either way, this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed this episode, despite some of the nitpicks and made fun of things I did throughout this episode. It gave us some really fun visuals. It gave us what Rainbow Dash could perceive herself as an adventurer, and it serves as a nice little allegory to how bronies can convert non-bronies to watch the show. When you really think about it, it kind of sends that message. At least that's what I got off of it. Overall, I really do enjoy this episode. Even if I don't enjoy the episodes that spawned from this episode, I do enjoy this episode as a whole. So, I give this a grade A-. I give this episode an A-. I'm the Cartoon Gentleman. I brought you organized chaos, and good day to you, sir. I have a book to read.